A spaceship or something. I saw it.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Gareth and this is Books, Songs and Other Magic. And today I'm going to be talking about science fiction authors, kind of bouncing off a reading event that's happening in the summer, which is being created by Michael K. Vaughan. So I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about some of the authors that I want to tackle this year that may be, because some of them are going to be more recent authors, so it doesn't fit into that event, so it'll be later in the year. But my first love is science fiction, so I want to kind of reiterate my interest in reading these authors. And what I'm going to do is, there's a little pile of books here that I'm going to use to talk about the reading event in July that Mike's started. And then I'm going to talk about 3 authors that I really want to read more of this year, that all 3 of them I've read something by them, but I want to read more by them. So I'm going to talk about that. 3 very famous authors. And I'll talk a little bit, just to begin with, about the Ray Bradbury project, which is well underway, which is cool. And actually, I will just say what's following that as well. So, Michael K. Vaughan's video, if you haven't seen it, I'll link it below, was announcing an event called Rocket Summer. And it's all about July 2024 and about celebrating classic science fiction. So science fiction before the 60s, when a new wave movement came in, and you had like Harlan Ellison and Philip Jose Farmer and Larry Niven and Ursula K. Le Guin and all sorts of people that were kind of putting other extensions to what the older authors had done to you know, add a new side to science fiction, potentially. J.G. Ballard, another one. And all authors that I've read that I have an opinion on. Philip K. Dick's the big one, I guess. He's probably the most celebrated of the new wave authors. Obviously, that could be a contentious point, but it seems to be nowadays the one that people talk about the most in the most excited way. Very loyal fan base for Philip K. Dick. And Samuel Delany is a very important one as well. But anyway, that's the new wave period, which followed the classic kind of golden age, which is what, and the golden age is what the event is focusing on, which is not massively surprising, because I think when there's been other science fiction based events on BookTube, a lot of the people that created the events have kind of favoured or had a slight bias towards the older science fiction. I think that's definitely true. So when we did the New Worlds November one, because that's coming back actually this year, so that's going to follow this summer. There's going to be another New Worlds November. I will definitely be, as a co-host, I will definitely be encouraging the reading and celebrating of recent authors as well. But I do like delving into classic science fiction as well. It's always interesting to see where science fiction began, and there's some great stuff in the golden age. So anyway, that's what the event is based on. So it obviously fits into my general reading remit, and I do think that because of the nature of BookTube, because of Buddy Reads, because of just getting excited about different things, and like seeing like someone talk about a classic and you think, oh, I'm going to read that, that's not science fiction, and that kind of thing, and like my new interest in crime novels as well. Some of the focus of my reading has not necessarily been on science fiction as much as it used to, so I want to kind of reclaim that a little bit in the second half of the year anyway. So it's quite nice. I'm going to have New Worlds November, and I'm going to have July, where it's going to be really focused on science fiction. There's also the Book Trek event as well, which I was a co-host of last year, and I want to do that again. And I've been offered the co-host position again, which is great. I love Star Trek. I'm really, really into Star Trek. So we'll be doing more videos on Star Trek as well. And Vin from Revenant Reads created that. And it's an interesting group of people that we have in that one. So yeah, that's going to be part of July as well. But I'm pretty sure we're doing the longer event again, because we enjoyed it last time. So it doesn't have to, I don't have to stack everything into July. and July can be more about these other books, or those books that are older books that coincide with Mike's event, Rocket Summer. So Rocket Summer is called Rocket Summer because of Ray Bradbury. So he's referencing one of the stories in the Martian Chronicles. And I recently did a video about the Martian Chronicles. I'm doing a big project on Ray Bradbury. I'm reading everything I possibly can find, and I'm trying to do it in chronological order with a few kinks. So, for example, Dark Carnival is about to be re-released soon, and that's the first ever collection that was released. And I'm going to read that, and I'm going to do that as a video alongside The Small Assassin. And The Small Assassin, from what I understand, I'll know more when I actually have the Dark Carnival, has the stories in it that weren't in the October Country from Dark Carnival. So The Small Assassin has appeared in a few different collections. But yeah, so anyway, that's a bit of a kink, but mostly I will be quite capable of doing it in chronological order without any issues like that. So that's been going along, and I am about to put on the channel, unless, I don't know when this is going up, to be fair. You either have just seen it or it's about to go up, the video I've done on The Illustrated Man, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th book in my deep dive. So it's the 5th book in this project. So I was going to talk about Ray Bradbury for a minute because he fits into the event anyway. And I was going to talk about some of the things that I'll be... So I'll be reading... I was going to talk about the things that I'm reading next for that. And then talk about my approach to the project in general. And then I was going to talk about these 3 authors. So, Ray Bradbury. As I said, I'm just finished and filmed a video about The Illustrated Man. Did that a few days ago. That's coming up soon. Or you might have already seen it. The Illustrated Man was an important book for me anyway, because it was the first Ray Bradbury book I ever read. And it was a really important book that created my love of science fiction. So that is a really important book. So then the next one I'm going to read from the project is Fahrenheit 451, which is also linked to the Banned Books project as well, 24 for 24, which is awesome. So I can't wait to talk about this. It is a reread for me, but it was from quite a while ago, so it'll feel quite fresh, I think. And yeah, it's a nice copy as well. So yeah, Fahrenheit 451 is the next one I'm doing in the deep dive. And I'm going to try and, as I talk about these, I'm going to try and talk about when they came out. And this one came out in 1953. Have I got the dates? No, I haven't got the dates on this bit of paper. 1953, that one came out. And then I'm going to be reading another really important book for me, which is The Golden Apples of the Sun. And The Golden Apples of the Sun is definitely one of my favourite collections. And it does feature my all-time favourite short story, which is The Sound of Thunder. So if you haven't read anything by Bradbury, check out Sound of Thunder. It's awesome. So I'm going to be reading Golden Apples of the Sun as well next. And I'll be reading Dandelion Wine next, which I didn't grab because I took so many books down and I was disturbing my wife by grabbing them all. So I didn't pick out Dandelion Wine. But after I've read Dandelion Wine, I'm probably going to be in... actually, no, probably won't. Now, looking at that, I think by the time we get to July, I'm going to be talking about either Something Wicked This Way Comes or the Dark Carnival Small Assassin thing, maybe, actually. But anyway, the next thing after Dandelion Wine is The Day It Rained Forever. So that would be the next one. I thought, when I was preparing this video, I thought that would be July, but I think I'm going to get to this much before that. So, yeah, anyway, that's the order that I'm going with the Ray Bradbury books. So, I'm really enjoying going through those books. And just a little information about what happens after that. I am definitely, once I've finished all those Ray Bradbury books, and gone on to whatever he wrote in his later years as well, I'm going to be doing the same thing with Richard Matheson. And it's going to be my mission in the next 12 months or whatever to make sure I've got everything that is published by Richard Matheson. So I'm also going to obviously try to get the things that aren't published anymore secondhand. But I've already got a fairly big Richard Matheson collection, so I just need to fill some gaps. So I'm quite confident I can do it. So that's one of the things that's happening as well. So after Ray Bradbury, it'll be the Richard Matheson one. But I wanted to talk about some other authors as well. But before I do that, let's have a look at a different approach I'll be taking with this classic stuff. So because it's a book event, all contained in 1 month, with lots of prompts in it, I'm going to be looking for short stories as well as novels. And, you know, the thing about the Golden Age period, it was all built on short stories. So short science fiction was created pretty much by the magazines, by the short fiction, science fiction magazines that came out. And that's how these stories started. And sometimes the novels that came out were fix-up novels that were combining these stories together with a link or some kind of narrative structure. So, you know, short stories is a massive, massive part of the history of science fiction. So, you're not necessarily going down a dodgy path when you find a book like this, 100 great science fiction short stories, because some of them really were really short, and there's some old stuff in here as well as some newer stuff. And if you have a look at who the editors are, it's pretty cool. I love this book. I've had it a long time, and it's been a while since I've read it. So even though this is one I've had for decades, I've owned this book for decades, it'll be a nice excuse to reread some of these things. So that could be something that I read in this event. There's also, I could easily go back to John Wyndham. So I've picked out one of the books I haven't read yet that I own by John Wyndham. I could read The Secret People. So when did this come out? This came out in 1935. So this is really early. So this wouldn't have been as John Wyndham. This would have been as John Bainan if it was that early. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, that's a possibility. Secret People. And this is an interesting one. This is one that's been reissued under the imprint. Where are we? The MIT Press, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Cambridge, Massachusetts. They've been reissued some classic books from the pre-1950s era. And this came out in 1923. This came out in 1923. So I'd like to read this. So this is a big contender for this event in July. This came out in 1920. The Clockwork Man. If you're watching this, Shawn, the Standfast, Shawn, we did talk about buddy reading this. So if this coincides from something you want to read at this time, then we could buddy read this. So yeah, The Clockwork Man was 1923. Interesting, because it tackles gender. It'd be interesting how it does that in 1923. It could be dated, who knows. And just mentioning Shawn for a second, I have got some Clifford D. Simak. I've got loads of Clifford D. Simak, and I could read some more of his stuff. So Worlds Without End was actually mentioned by Michael K. Vaughan, so I could read that. But there's tons I've got. I've just brought kind of a couple down, like why call them back from heaven, which does sound quite intriguing, to be fair. And Ring Around the Sun as well. But I've got quite a lot of Simak that I haven't read, because I just got into a position a couple of years ago where I found loads at a good price, not too bad condition. Certainly, I was happy enough to get them, and I could read those. So Clifford Simak could be in the running in this period. There's a H.G. Wells book that I found called Empire of the Ants. As you can see, they've used the film aesthetic for the cover because to advertise it, and they've got the credits for the film on the back there. Joan Collins, look at that. That's a illustrative version of Joan Collins there. Awesome. So Empire of the Ants, it'd be interesting to read that. And just to kind of clarify the dates angle, H.G. Wells wrote this in 1927. 1927. So again, another early one. William 10 of All Possible Worlds. This is a short story collection, and I read one other novel by William 10. Didn't massively like it, actually. It was in the SF Masterwork series. Didn't like it a lot. But this comes from 1956. So Clearly, this is just at the cusp of the remit, 1956, so I could read that. Wasp is another one that's just hovering below the border of this event. But it's a book that I've really wanted to read for quite a while. I think I'm going to like it, but I don't know. If it's a bit of a nice idea that doesn't play into a novel as well as it might have done for a short story, that might be possible. But I do like the idea of it. So, yeah, I could read that. And Wasp came out in 1958. Yeah, that coming out in 1958. Wasp by Eric Frank Russell. Ah, yes. And this is a nice opportunity, this event, for me to read Lee Brackett. So Lee Brackett was an influence on Ray Bradbury, a friend of his, someone I really want to read. I've got another book by her, but I haven't fished it out for this video. But I've got a couple of bits by Lee Brackett. I definitely want to read her stuff. This is called The Coming of the Terrans, and it was initially brought out in 1954, 1948, 1952, 1963. So these are stories that date back to those times. So you've got stories that have been combined into one book. So yeah, could be really interesting. So yeah, I really want to read that as well. So Lee Brackett, it would be really nice for me to say I have an opinion about a woman that I think is really important in the history of science fiction. But as such, I haven't read anything by her yet. So, The Coming of the Terrans is definitely one of them. And there's another one that is in the SF Masterwork series that I've got as well. Okay, so that's my intention as far as the kind of stuff I'm going to be looking at for this event in July. But I wanted to talk about the fact that just across the year, I do want to tackle more by these three authors. So the first one I want to talk about is Joe Haldeman. Joe Haldeman, I really like. I've read 3 of his books so far, and I really like them. And I want to read all the ones I own and find some more. I own quite a lot. This is only like another 6 books, but I've got a few others upstairs as well. So I would have ended up, if I read these and the others I own, I think I own about 15 of his books. So, you know, it will cover a lot of ground. But I'll just show you these ones. So there's one that I really like the premise of, The Long Habit of Living. So I'll tell you what, it might mean more if I tell you why I thought it was a nice idea. So The Long Habit of Living is... more even than space travel, the Stallman process has altered 21st century life. The most complex of medical miracles, it ensured that every 10 years or so, the aging body could be restored to youthful vigour and health. There was a catch, of course, the cost. Every 10 years or so, you had to come up with £1 billion minimum or die. For Dallas Barr, one of the oldest men on earth, it was that time again. It was while he was casting around for that vital next million that he came across Maria, a woman from literally a previous life, and made 2 major discoveries. Not all Stallman immortals were born or created the same, and someone is trying to kill them. All of them. Sounds awesome, doesn't it? So yeah, The Long Habit of Living is one of those Joe Haldeman books I'd like to read. There's also Mind Bridge. Mind Bridge, when sensors detect the presence of alien intelligence in the region of the star Ankara, a team of tamers is sent to investigate, and they're never seen again. Another small team, the elite of the tamer agency, is ordered out, primed with every defensive and offensive weapon and technology of Earth can devise, and what they find looks harmless enough at first, but develops into the most hideous confrontation mankind will ever have to endure. Mind Bridge. I think this might take ages if I read every single one out. But you've got Tool of the Trade, which I remember that looked really good as well. Yeah, so I'll talk about these in more detail as I go along. But Tool of the Trade and The Accidental Time Machine, which I've seen a video of Joe Haldeman talking about it in a conference kind of situation, maybe at a convention or something. That was really cool. So The Accidental Time Machine. And these books are linked. So this is part of a trilogy, but I don't know if I've got the second one. So there's Worlds, and Worlds Enough and Time. Yeah, Worlds Apart is the other one, but I don't think I've got Worlds Apart yet. So yeah. Joe Haldeman, let me know what you think of him, but someone I really want to read. And Alan Dean Foster is someone that's really famous with novelizations, but he's written a ton of other stuff that are not novelizations. And I just want to just go through a few. I've got loads of Alan Dean Foster stuff upstairs, including all of the Spellsinger books except one. So I think I've got 6 of the Spellsinger books. So he's written lots of fantasy as well. But you've got Green Thieves. So that looks interesting. And Midworld, which is quite a famous one. Midworld. Obviously, that looks kind of science fantasy a little bit. And this kind of looks really interesting. Glory Lane. A speed of light space chase across the galaxy and beyond. And then this is short story books with Friends Like These. I absolutely love that cover. With Friends Like These, Who Needs Enemies? So 2 books, 2 short story collections that I want to read as well. So again, Alan Dean Foster is more of a more recent author, so that's not really going to fit into the remit for the event. That's just another one I want to properly delve more into in the later part of the year. And then the other one I wanted to talk about today that I want to read more of. I've read some of his stuff, but I want to get really kind of deep into his stuff. And that's Robert Silverberg. So Robert Silverberg is one of the new wave authors. So he's not really part of this remit. So Dying Inside seems to be the most celebrated one. So I've read some other books by him, but I haven't read this one. And I got this, even though it's got a terrible condition cover. But the book itself is actually good condition. It's just the cover that's bad. And I really wanted to read it. So Dying Inside is one that I want to read that I think is about immortality. Let's have a look. David Selig has the power of a god, for he can project his consciousness into other minds, other bodies, and other souls. He can read thoughts and feelings. His essence, as he sees it, is in this unique and formidable power, and his power is dying. This is a fascinating portrait. Never has the experience of telepathy, that's it, it's about telepathy, been conveyed so vividly, so excitingly, and so chillingly. And never has Robert Silverberg created so moving a story as he depicts the flux of dying and a thrust towards rebirth. So yeah, that looks really cool. So Dying Inside is one of them. And then there's The Masks of Time. Look at that awesome cover. The Masks of Time. And The Man in the Maze, another one I want to read. Time Hoppers. So again, I was hoping to read more time travel this year, but I haven't read as much as I wanted to. So it could be that this big time travel video I want to do could be next year. But Time Hoppers, another time travel one by Robert Silverberg, and The World Inside. And again, I'll just quickly read the back of this one because this is really good. So. The ultimate answer to the population explosion. Let it explode. The year is 2381. The place is Urban Monad 116 of the constellation Chipitz. The population of this 1,000-story superstructure is 800,000 plus and always growing. After 2 centuries of ruthless selective breeding, the essence of life is to be bless-worthy and to multiply, to afford one's neighbours any type of sexual fulfillment, and above all, to avoid the evil of frustration. But within this seemingly blissful vertical world, there are individuals who feel such perverse desires as a longing for privacy, a wish to descend from the heights, to walk on earth and bask in the sunshine. These rebel throwbacks to an earlier earth are dangerous, disruptive elements, and they must be destroyed if they do not destroy themselves first. So that sounds really cool. And actually, saying that, another little side thing I'd like to do is develop a video on books about overpopulation and the population problem, which is a huge problem in the world anyway. But it'd be interesting to see how science fiction writers have tackled that. So, There we go. Tell me what you think of those authors, and if there's any books I talked about, you go, you must read that, then let me know. And it'd be nice to know if you've been following the Ray Bradbury thing, and if there's certain books you're looking forward to seeing on that Ray Bradbury project. And thanks for watching. Stay curious, everybody.
Picture